Well, Microsoft had its partner showcase this Thursday, and it was a great showing with some returning familiar faces and a handful of new games on the way. Say what you will about Xbox and their console strategy, but right now Microsoft is killing it in the games department. But enough with the preamble, grab a snack and strap in. Here is everything that was announced at the showcase, condensed and in order. First up was the next Alan Wake 2 DLC, The Lake House, which features a new playable character, new enemy type, and a return to the Federal Bureau of Control. This time, however, instead of following Jesse Faden through the oldest house, we'll take control of FBC agent Kieran Estevez as we investigate the Lake House, another FBC installation gone awry. The DLC takes place concurrently with the early parts of Alan Wake 2, and Remedy is calling it a true survival horror experience in the same vein of Alan Wake's 2 nursing home segment. While we're exploring the lake house and uncovering what went wrong, we'll encounter the Painted, a new enemy type based around paint. These creatures can move through paint, similar to Splatoon, I guess? Fortunately, we only have to wait until October 22nd, a few days from now, to get our hands on the DLC and return to the FBC's SCP-styled world. Continuing the paranormal creepy theme, Chronos: The New Dawn from Bloober Team was next up. Of course, these devs just released the Silent Hill 2 remake to much acclaim, and they clearly want to strike while the iron is hot. The trailer itself was mostly CG, though a tiny glimpse of potential gameplay can be seen at the end, such as it is. Unsurprisingly, given the name, Chronos: The New Dawn will have some time travel as the player controls the Traveler, an agent of the collective tasked with scouring the wastelands of the future in search of specific time rifts that will transport you back to 1980s era Poland. Your goal is to find different people from past eras, extract their essences, and bring them into the future. As for gameplay, your guess is as good as mine, but the tense chess match in the trailer is a compelling introduction to the game, and I'm looking forward to learning more in the coming weeks. Chronos: The New Dawn launches sometime in 2025 for the PC, PS5, and the Xbox Series X and S. 011, known for Prison Architect, revealed their next outing in Blindfire, a team-based arena shooter that supports up to 8 players. The round-based FPS is unique in that it takes place almost entirely in the shadows, forcing players to tactically think about when to engage, as muzzle flashes will be a huge giveaway. Apparently the game will also have the option for 2 different reloads as well, a fast and loud reload or a slower and quieter reload, indicating that sound is also going to play an important role in the unusual shooter. This one launched straight into early access for about $8, so no doubt I'm going to have more updates for this one probably next week when we do our weekly news. Oh, and this next one is fantastic for so many reasons. Remember when Skull and Bones took years to come out and all they had to do was release a bigger version of Black Flag, but instead we got whatever the hell this is.
Use your spyglass to identify lucrative trade.
Well, we're finally gonna get a spiritual successor to Black Flag, and it's Like a Dragon. Seriously. But for real, this looks amazing. Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii is ridiculous in all the right ways, and I'm here for it. From the Steam page. A new legend begins as you step into the steel-toed boots of Goro Majima, a man who has lost his memory and reinvents himself as a pirate on the open seas. Embark on an over-the-top modern-day pirate adventure with an ex-Yakuza, now pirate captain, and his crew as they engage in exhilarating combat on land and sea and hunt for lost memories and a legendary treasure. Zany characters, wacky story, classic Yakuza fisticuffs, and Black Flag's ship-to-ship combat expanded? Do I need to say anything else? It comes out February 21st, 2025 for the PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and the Xbox Series X and S. Inspired by 1930s black and white cartoons, Mouse PI for Hire is a first-person shooter that puts you in the role of Jack Pepper, war hero turned private eye. While you explore Mouseburg's seedier side, you're pulled into an appropriate web of murder, corruption, and intrigue. Aside from the eye-catching visuals and general story direction, not much is known just yet, but it will be coming out next year for the PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and the Xbox Series X and S, as well as the Switch. And now for my personal favorite, we're finally getting the official reveal of Subnautica 2, and I literally bounced in my chair when I realized what I was looking at.
Oh my god! Okay, it's happening!
We've known for some time that a sequel was coming, but Unknown Worlds has taken their sweet time with the next mainline entry. The sequel will take place on an entirely new planet, and if the CG trailer is anything to go by, the Leviathans are bigger, the depths are deeper, and multiplayer is real. Naturally, you can play solo, thankfully, but in Subnautica 2, you'll be able to grab 3 of your friends for 4-player co-op. And while not announced at this showcase, last month Unknown Worlds assured players that no season pass, no battle passes, or subscriptions would be in the sequel, so 3 cheers for that. That said, despite my barely contained excitement, let's not forget Crafton is involved in this one, so yeah, keep that in mind. The game launches into early access sometime next year, and it looks like it's going to be a lengthy stay for the game, kind of like the first one, so don't expect to be playing the full version of this for, I don't know, 3-4 years. Konami also got in on the action to show off Eden Zero, a new action RPG based on the manga and anime. The trailer itself looks pretty straightforward action RPG with cel-shaded graphics and colorful combat. Unfortunately, this one has almost no info out there just yet, and I actually haven't seen this anime, so I'm not even going to try to explain it. Fans of the show, you're going to have to let me know down below just what we should expect when this one launches next year for the PC and the Xbox Series X and S. I would assume it would also be on the PS5, but I can't find any concrete info on this one just yet. Eternal Strands from developer Yellow Brick Games is another colorful action-adventure looking game from the Steam page. At the heart of Eternal Strands beats a revolutionary new system for gameplay interactions. Heat spreads, cold chills, and real-time destruction allows for unprecedented reactivity in combat. Hurl burning tree trunks at enemies with telekinetic powers, snap nearby trees to block opposing fire, or channel raw telekinetic force to rip boulders from the ground. The trailer itself gives off a Breath of the Wild meets Shadow of the Colossus meets maybe something like Magicka vibes, for those who remember that one. This is another one I'm hoping we get more info on soon, as the trailer looked quite compelling. Regardless, it comes out Q1 next year for the PC, PS5, and the Xbox Series X and S. So here's an interesting mix of genres. Third-person, action-adventure, PvPvE, extraction RPG with some heavy Souls-like inspiration. Mistfall Hunter definitely looks the part, but without playing it, it's really hard to say how this mix is going to work out, but I'm definitely interested. This is another one that I'm going to let the Steam page explain. Immerse yourself in dynamic third-person action where skillful aiming takes center stage. As a Gildan hunter, deep dive into PvP strategy and relish the thrill of precise, exhilarating combat. Predict enemy movements, steady your aim, and deliver devastating headshots to bring down your foes. Master a variety of combos and customize your skills to suit your strategy. Coordinate seamlessly with your teammates, using combat expertise to overcome any adversary that stands in your way. So I'm imagining a multiplayer Elden Ring where invasions aren't optional but rather mandatory, and instead of raging at some 3000 hit combo boss, I'll be raging at little too much time on his hands Timmy. Got it. I can see this one appealing to a very specific audience if done right. Currently, the game is in closed beta, but we'll learn more sometime in 2025. Hey, but maybe you're looking for something a little less sweaty and a little more chill. Well, here's Wheel World, an open-world biking game that was originally announced last year as Ghost Bike, but is now being delayed into 2025. Seeing as it's being published by Annapurna Interactive, who basically collapsed recently, I would imagine the delay has something to do with that. The open-world racing game is set to come out sometime in early 2025 for the PC, PS5, and the Xbox Series X and S. Previously, it seems that there was a PS4 and Xbox One version planned, but it's looking like they may have been cut, unfortunately. The Legend of Babu is another colorful action-adventure game with modern Zelda vibes, but I do like the art direction. And hey, according to Steam, you'll be able to customize Babu, your canine companion, with various outfits and ornaments. Having a dog companion will automatically give this game an interested fan base, so as long as they can deliver on the exploration and combat, I can see this one being a hit when it finally comes out next year for the PC, Xbox One, and the Xbox Series X and S. Okay, so you've played Black Myth Wuchang, and now you're waiting for Where Winds Meet sometime next year, and you're keeping your eye on Phantom Blade Zero, hoping for a 2026 release date. Let's add another Chinese mythology game to anticipate with Wukong Fallen Feathers, which is set to come out next year for the PC and the Xbox Series X and S. I gotta say, out of all the games coming on the heels of Wukong, Wuchang looks to be the one that has my attention the most, mainly for its amazing art direction. I love the style of this game. I also love that they're not shying away from calling it a Souls-like. We've had a recent spat of releases too shy to put the moniker on their game, mostly due to the creeping Souls-like fatigue everyone's feeling, but Wuchang knows what it is and wants you to know too. Set in the late Ming Dynasty, the trailer shows off some really nice monster designs and some impressive looking combat that seems to build on the Souls-like formula rather than simply mimicking it. That said, until we can get our hands on it, who knows what it's going to be like. Hopefully we'll get a demo released sometime soon. The final reveal of the showcase is something of an oddball that has the potential to be fantastic but could easily turn into a dud. FBC Firebreak is a 3-player co-op shooter from Remedy Entertainment set within the Control universe. You and 2 other players will be battling your way through the Bureau's headquarters as Firebreak, the FBC's most versatile unit. That's right, we're going to be fighting through the oldest house from Control, which I'm not going to lie, that alone sounds pretty cool. The game will feature loadouts for weapons, special tools, grenades, support items, and paranatural augmentations. Although it isn't listed as an extraction shooter, if they can find a way to capture some of Deep Rock Galactic's magic and transfer it to Control, I can see this one working out rather well. Still, only time will tell, but I'm very curious to see how Remedy approach the shooter genre given their expertise in narrative-driven action-adventure games. we'll find out sometime next year on the PC, PS5, and the Xbox Series X and S. Oh, and just for the sake of completeness, Animal Well was shown off, but it's been out for a while and it was more of an advertisement for the game. Still a great game if you haven't checked it out. Phasmophobia also made its presence known with an early access console release date with an appropriate October 29th launch for the PlayStation 5, PSVR 2, and the Xbox Series X and S. Moving away from Microsoft, I've got a few debriefs for you, starting with the wacky headlines you probably have already noticed sometime this week. Game Freak acknowledged this week that an enormous Pokemon data breach has occurred, with thousands of confidential employee information from all levels being leaked online. Along with the privacy data breach of its employees, a ton of information regarding past, present, and future Pokemon games has been released into the wild. On top of all that data, there are thousands of leaked concept art, notes, memos, design documents, source code, and other information related to the franchise online, including some particularly bizarre allegations of multiple stories written by Game Freak that include Pokemon and human relationships. Yes, those kinds of relationships. The Vaporeon meme is very real, but instead of Vaporeon, it was Typhlosion all along. Apparently, in the long ago of Pokemon history, humans and Pokemon were more than just battle buddies and friends. This is lore written by Game Freak, by the way, not some fanfic. Allegedly, gotta say allegedly. It is hilarious that they go out of their way to make sure that these stories happened in the distant past, you know, when the boundary between Pokemon and humans was still unclear. In terms of a lore excuse, fine, sure, whatever, I guess. But come on, guys, that doesn't explain why in the here and now, humans decided to write these insane stories in kids' games. To cover my own ass, I'm going to use the Forbes example rather than dig up one of my own. A young girl is tricked by a shape-shifting Typhlosion into thinking that he's a human. Eventually, she apparently has a child with him, and she's called his wife. Her father eventually comes and kills the Typhlosion, and when she returns to the village, she and her half-Pokemon child is teased by the men in the village, who at one point cover it with fur skins. Then they run into the forest and are never seen again. And I think I'm going to stop there. That's just one example of whatever the hell the writers at Game Freak are allegedly getting up to. I'm sure there's going to be more to the story as people dig through these documents and find more and more, but I can't imagine it getting any weirder than this. Of course, it wouldn't be a weekly gaming news video without some more layoffs. Oh, yay, our favorite. This week's damage comes from Riot, Bandai Namco, and Don't Nod. Starting with Riot Games, who laid off 27 League of Legends developers and 5 others on the publishing side of things. Co-founder Mark Merrill said of the layoffs, "This isn't about reducing headcount to save money. We're not slowing down work on the game you love. We're investing heavily in solving today's challenges faster while also building for the future." Those staff members affected will be given at minimum a 6-month severance package, an annual bonus, as well as health coverage and job assistance. So as far as layoffs goes, at least those being impacted are being taken care of to some extent. Of course, this comes on top of the 530 employees Riot laid off earlier in the year, crippling its indie publishing label. So let's not feel too content about Riot's behavior, huh? On the exact opposite end of the spectrum is Bandai Namco, who, according to Bloomberg sources, the Tokyo-based company is taking a traditionally Japanese approach to reducing staff by sending its workers to rooms where they are given nothing to do, putting pressure on them to leave voluntarily, aka without any sort of severance. It's alleged 200 of its 1,300 employees have been moved into these expulsion rooms, and almost half of these have since voluntarily resigned. Bandai Namco have responded to the accusation saying, "Nuh-uh," and I'm sure everyone believes them. This kind of practice is, sadly, common in Japan, which has very strict labor protection laws that make layoffs difficult for corporations. Of course, corporations, being what they are, have found a way to skirt the law and once again make the life of normal people miserable. Developer Don't Nod is also in hot water this week, as they've not only laid off 69 employees, but also pissed off the French union that represents some of these employees at the company. The Don't Nod union section and the STJV as a whole cannot tolerate that the responsibility for the company's failures be placed on its employees. We call on Don't Nod workers to mobilize now to safeguard their jobs and working conditions. This all comes after STJV had been reportedly warning Don't Nod for months about the company's looming problems. And STJV is just the acronym for the French union over there. I'm not even gonna pretend to pronounce that one. And unfortunately, the layoffs are continuing, yay, with Kohu's Portuguese studio, who lost 7 staff members, Cryptic Studios dropping an additional undisclosed amount of staff after layoffs last year, and Take-Two owned Natural Motion, also allegedly closing down their Birmingham studio. Moving on to some Ubisoft updates, talk about not being able to catch a break. Not that they deserve a break in the slightest, mind you. This week, the embattled company is under fire for its new return-to-office policy, which has led to more than 700 employees staging a 3-day walkout. STJV, the same union representing many of those developers, called for a strike, claiming no tangible justification was given, nor were employees consulted about the decision. In a statement, the union has said, "After more than 5 years of working efficiently in the current remote work context, many of our colleagues have built or rebuilt their lives, family life, housing, parenthood, etc., and simply cannot return to the previous working conditions. Our employer knows this perfectly well." On top of the walkout, Ubisoft cannot seem to keep its foot out of its mouth in regards to Assassin's Creed Shadows marketing. I have never felt a AAA game more doomed than this next Assassin's Creed's outing. Maybe it'll succeed beyond all expectations, but it ain't looking good. To add to the mounting screw-ups, this week Ubisoft had to backtrack over an insensitively designed model. The design in question comes from model company Pure Arts and shows the game's 2 protagonists with Nagasaki's one-legged Torii. If you don't know, the one-legged Torii is a culturally significant landmark as it serves as a reminder of the devastation visited on the city during World War II. You know, where between 60 and 80,000 civilians were killed in seconds. Yeah, maybe turning that poignant landmark into a video game commodity for a game that has already overstepped its bounds many times is an awful idea. How they didn't see that beforehand? Your guess is as good as mine. And to round out Ubisoft's woes this week, Mark Rubin had to take to Twitter to refute the rumors that XDefiant was nearing its shutdown. The original rumor was started by Sean Weber on Twitter, a known leaker, who announced that multiple sources told that it's possible that the game will end its support after Season 4 if they can't get enough players. However, not long afterward, Mark Rubin addressed the tweet saying, "To be crystal clear, there's no plans to shut down after Season 4. I've literally been in meetings as of last week to discuss our Year 2 plans. For right now, we are super focused on improving the technical experience, which includes netcode, and adding more content for Seasons 3 and 4. We have done very little marketing, so yes, our numbers are down, but that is just to give the team the time to get the game in a better place before we do bigger spends on marketing to bring new players to the game and to bring back players that have left." Now, to be perfectly honest, that makes a lot of sense. I completely understand not wanting to market the game too hard until you're more comfortable with the state of the game. Sure, that makes sense. Although I'd argue maybe don't release it at all until you're more confident, but hey, here we are. Still, the situation is what it is, but I'm having a hard time believing Ubisoft, given all their current troubles, are just content to let Mark Rubin continue to throw money at a game in hopes it eventually takes off. Maybe if Outlaws hadn't flopped, or if Assassin's Creed Shadows wasn't under such pressure, that would be the case, maybe. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if XDefiant is on the chopping block. But that's just my personal take. We'll see in the coming months just what happens. A report over at Insider Gaming revealed that a Hogwarts Legacy Definitive Edition was in the works, which is looking to add 10 to 15 additional hours of content, including new stories, side quests, activities, gear, etc. If you've already got the game, you'll be able to buy the additional content via DLC when it eventually launches. As for when that may be, no one knows just yet, but Insider Gaming's source thinks it might be sometime in 2025, with all the sources suggesting a $20 to $30 price tag. Anton Blast, the chaotic action platformer from developer Summit Sphere, is being delayed to December 3rd, down from November 12th of this year. Rather than needing more time to polish the game, both of the hurricanes, Helen and Milton, have impacted the studio, with some developers without power for weeks. As such, not a lot of work can be done, and as any developer will tell you, the final weeks leading up to a game's launch are crucial. Still, all things considered, the studio has released a statement saying that all of their staff are safe and sound, and the 3-week delay isn't actually all that bad. Fortunately, to tide you over, the team will be releasing a new demo as part of the Steam Next Fest October, which will run from October 14th to the 21st. And while we're talking about the hurricanes, Games Done Quick has raised over $45,000 in relief thanks to a speedrunning event. You love to see it. Hopefully it can go to people who genuinely need the help the most. Quirky dating sim Date Everything is also going to be delayed from October 24th to the more appropriate February 14th, 2025, owing to the much more common need for polish. Microsoft may have stole the show this week as far as game reveals go, but the rest of the industry wasn't resting on its laurels either. Developer Saber Interactive is celebrating over 4.5 million Space Marine 2 players in its first month by showing off the content still to come for the game. The game's previous updates brought with it ultra-wide support, previous PvE lobbies, and a sparring arena on the battle barge, while Season 2 will be adding new PvE missions, a new lethal difficulty, a new pistol, as well as a new enemy to fight in the Tyranid Hierophant Titan, which looks awesome. Season 3 will be receiving some new PvE and PvP content as well, but the big one comes in Season 4, Horde Mode. Yeah, I know a lot of us are waiting on that one, soon TM. And of course, there is more premium cosmetic content on the way, including some Dark Angel stuff, and potentially some Raven Guard stuff if the eagle-eyed internet has anything to say about it. Unfortunately, Update 4.0, which started Season 2 this week, is facing some backlash from gamers unhappy with what seems to be some pretty heavy-handed nerfs. I haven't been able to play the update yet, so I'm not sure if gamers are crying for no reason, or if the Helldivers 2 comparison is actually apt. I guess we'll see when it all gets sorted out in the coming weeks. At any rate, nerfs aside, Space Marine 2 is a resounding success, and it looks to be putting the franchise in good standing for future content. NetEase revealed Destiny Rising this week, and I say NetEase rather than Bungie because it was pretty telegraphed that this is a NetEase game and not a Bungie creation. To add to the separation, we learned that the game actually takes place in an alternate timeline, even further removing the mobile version of the game from the Destiny we all know. Furthermore, the game will feature both first and third-person mode, no doubt so players can admire their $30 skin purchases. The game will also ditch the class system for a more hero-based system, which I can only assume that's so NetEase can gotchify the game with various character releases. So, yeah, even though there were literally zero indications of what kind of monetization the game will have, the writing is on the wall with this one, methinks. Still, we'll wait to judge the game when it is out, but I wouldn't hold out hope, Destiny fans, unless a gotchified version of the game is exactly what you're hoping for, in which case, congrats, I guess. If you are still interested in the game, you can head over to the game's official site to sign up for the closed alpha test starting this November 1st. Crystal Dynamics and Asper announced a second batch of Tomb Raider remasters recently, this time for 1999's The Last Revelation, 2000's Chronicles, and yes, even 2003's Awkward Angel of Darkness. These shiny new versions will come with updated graphics, more modern control options, achievements, and a photo mode. This new batch of remasters also comes with a hefty milestone for the franchise, as over 100 million games have been sold during its lifetime. The Tomb Raider 4-6 Remaster Collection will come out February 14th, 2025, exactly 1 year after the previous collection, and it'll be on the PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and the Switch. Here's an interesting one. Sunderfolk is a couch co-op turn-based tactical RPG where your phone is the controller. Up to 4 players will pick one of 6 unique classes, each with their own playstyle, and adventure together through the magical and dangerous Sunderlands. That's the description over on Steam, and I can see this one either flopping and no one noticing it, or blowing up and turning into something of a hit with tabletop gaming fans. That said, Dreamhaven was founded by ex-Blizzard founder Mike Morhaime, so there's absolutely a reason to be optimistic. If this is something you're interested in, I'd recommend checking out the full trailer when you've got some time. It's not exactly a new concept or anything, but it is looking to be a game that might take the old Jackbox style party game and turn it into something truly all its own thing. We'll know sometime next year when Sunderfolk launches for the PC, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and the Switch. Oh, also the phone app itself will be free and available on both iOS and Android at launch. Disco Elysium from the developer Zom, or however you pronounce the silly studio name, has had an interesting week considering that there are now 5 different studios made up of former Disco Elysium creators, with most seemingly focused on creating a spiritual successor to the popular hit. If you're out of the loop, Disco Elysium is a pixel art detective RPG that won numerous awards when it was launched back in 2019. It was a narrative game changer in a lot of ways. However, by late 2021, internal drama resulted in the exodus of key members of the team. The following year in 2022, Red Info Ltd was founded by 2 of those departed game leads while being funded by NetEase. Jump forward to February of this year, and Zom laid off 24 employees, also canceling a project many believe to be a standalone expansion to Disco Elysium. During this layoff, the game's last original writer, Argo Tulik, was let go, meaning no original writers are left to follow up on the games. So before this week, we had Zom, the game's original developer, presumably working on their next title, and Red Info, which was created by the first Outsting drama in 2021-2022. After this week, however, we have Longdew Games, created by former Disco sequel Leebs, who are working on a psychological RPG that they're calling a spiritual successor to Disco Elysium. Imagine that. Dark Math Games also announced their own detective RPG called XXX Night Shift. Dodgy name aside, the studio is made up of many former Zom developers. And finally, Summer Eternal, which was formed by Argo Tulik after being laid off from Zom this year, and it also contains a number of former Disco devs. Now, will anything good come out of these studios? Who knows? Clearly there are a lot of big egos at play here, so I guess we'll find out if the confidence is deserved once these games start coming out. A follow-up to Tron Identity, the visual novel puzzler from last year, has also been announced by developer BitHell Games. Unlike its predecessor, Tron Catalyst will be an isometric action-adventure game that follows Exo, an arc grid program who has the ability to access glitched time loops. Manipulating the time loop mechanic will be the core way of advancing the game and uncovering the mystery behind what's going on with Exo and the arc grid's crumbling stability. The game is due out sometime in 2025, possibly in time for the next Tron movie, which comes out next October, but nothing concrete at this time. Reveals are all well and good, but what about some of the releases from this week? Well, Devolver Digital and Nomada Studio released Neva this week with 94% of critics recommending the title. This comes from the same team behind Gris, so if you're a fan of that one, you'll know what you're getting into here. Expect some solid combat, beautiful visuals, and an emotional roller coaster with this one. Press Start's Brody Gibbons had this to say about the game. Neva is a profoundly moving, interactive work of art. It's as pleasing to the eye as it is to the ear, and the effort the still young studio has gone to in developing upon ideas cemented in the first game, Gris, is commendable. Without eclipsing it, Neva matches the stirring catharsis of Gris with another flash of brilliance. So there you go, if that one sounds up your alley, make sure and keep a box of tissues nearby. Max Caulfield is back with Life is Strange Double Exposure, this time from developer Deck 9 Games instead of Don't Nod, who we're going to discuss shortly. Currently in this early access phase, there's not much in the way of reviews, but the game is sitting at mostly positive on Steam with 410 reviews currently. I'll bring more info when this game fully launches later this month on October 29th. There are also some games coming out a day or two after this video goes live, so I obviously don't have any review data just yet, but here they are in any case. First up is Super Mario Party Jamboree, which hardly needs an introduction. Nintendo's next party game has over 110 minigames, 7 game boards, and up to 20-player online play. You can pick it up this October 17th for the Switch. Developer Stormmind Games is hoping to give the Quiet Place franchise its own Alien Isolation makeover with A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead, releasing for the PC, Xbox Series X, and the PlayStation 5, also on the 17th. I'm really hoping this one ends up being a good game despite my skepticism. I really want another Alien Isolation style game. Fortunately, we've got that sequel coming, but it would be nice if Stormmind Games can nail this. Unknown 9 Awakening from developer Reflector Entertainment is releasing their action-adventure game this week. Is it just me, or have there been half a dozen of these games that look very similar? In any case, the game's trailers do look like it has some pretty cool potential, so we'll find out October 18th for the PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and the Xbox Series X and S. Late last week, Valve updated Steam's subscriber agreement to more openly spell out the fact that you're buying a license to a product and not the product itself. Of course, this isn't anything new, and thanks to a new California law requiring online storefronts to be more clear about the situation, it seems Steam has gotten a jump on the new regulations and updated their policy to reflect those changes. Again, you only owning a license to the game isn't Steam pulling some corporate BSery, it's been like this for years now. Not that I'm saying it's right, it's not, but it is what it is. That said, the team over at GOG tweeted out this cheeky little reply just hours later. Since checkout banners are trending, we're thinking of putting one up ourselves. Thoughts on this one? And of course, at the bottom there, you can see them reminding gamers that not all online storefronts are the same. I also want to give a quick update to the SAG-AFTRA strike that's been going on since July 6th of this year. Last week, the strike continued with the picketing of EA's LA office, as well as against Activision even earlier in the week. The good news is that negotiations will be resuming next week after almost a full year since the last in-person sessions. However, if the negotiations break down again, SAG-AFTRA Executive Director Duncan Crabtree Ireland has already said a formal boycott is on the table. Unlike the strike, a formal boycott would be a more extreme action that the Screen Actors Guild thinks would put much more pressure on these shady companies refusing to play ball. In regards to that boycott action, he had this to say: "The holiday period is a particularly effective time if we were to choose to do that, to deploy a campaign like that. And we've got the support of the AFL-CIO and the 15 million union members and their families around this country, on top of the members of the public who have shown that they actually do care about AI abuses, because they all see how it can affect all of us. As always, I'll let you know what comes of the situation as it unfolds." Hey there, if you made it this far, thanks so much. Your time is valuable and I'm happy to spend it with you. I decided to delay the video by a day this week so I could fold in Microsoft's big reveals, but I'll be back again next Thursday for more weekly gaming news. As I said, Subnautica 2 is the reveal that really got me excited this week, but what about you? Did any of Microsoft's upcoming games catch your eye? With the holiday gaming season just now starting to heat up, we're going to have a lot to talk about in the coming weeks, so come hang out if you've got the time. But as always, thanks for hanging out, stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time. Later.